Michael, a 62-year-old retiree, ran his own projections, created his own plan, and off of that retired. He has $860,000 saved, but he's now burning through $6,200 a month in withdrawals from his savings, almost 9% a year as a withdrawal rate. Is he in good shape, or does he need rescued? Hey guys, welcome back once again. It's Rise in Retirement. I'm Jet, he's Taco, and we're talking about 62-year-old Michael. And he kind of screwed up here.
Yeah.
Bottom line, I don't know how else to say it. He made a boo-boo.
Yeah.
As my kids would say.
He created his own financial plan with zero financial background, not doing enough research or anything like that. So I mean, he insisted after he already made the decision, he retired, he insisted, oh yeah, I'm going to live off of $4,000 a month. Well, taxes weren't included. Healthcare because he's only 62 and those additional costs weren't included, and just joy expenses that clearly are going to get spent weren't included.
Living and enjoying a little bit more than he anticipated. Maybe that's that every day is Saturday mentality.
Yep. And I think what happens here is he finds himself after a month or two that, oh man, I'm spending $6,200. I thought I was only going to spend $4,000. Then starts looking for an advisor.
Reminds me, you ever I'm going to ask you this, you too, watching, you ever taken a vacation with a budget in mind? And you go into the vacation thinking about kind of what you're going to spend. And then when you get to the hotel checkout counter and they give you the bill, you kind of go, ooh, that was a little bit more than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
This reminds me of that.
Yeah.
That happened to me once. I went to the Bahamas at a place that was nice.
Yeah.
And I got that hotel bill at the end. I'm like, man, I guess we really did enjoy all this free time that we had.
Yeah.
So like retirement's very similar to that for some people.
Pina colada was $23.
Well, I mean, I still think that's a crappy way to do business. But hey, man, you're there. They got you. So
yeah,
have that. Hey, you can have the extra pina colada. You just got to plan for it.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. Hey, make sure, I know many of you watching right now haven't already subscribed to our page. So subscribe, like, share the video, turn on your notifications so you don't miss our weekly video coming to you here.
I hope some of you are having a pina colada while you're watching this. So let's get into the case setup here.
Yep. So we have Michael, as you mentioned, he's 62. He is retired. He has $860,000. That account breakdown is $550,000 in a 403B. So it's a retirement plan, pre-tax. $230,000 in an IRA, and he's got $80,000 at the bank in cash, basically. After doing 2 months roughly of retirement and realizing his expenses are not $4,000, it's been determined now monthly income goal is $6,200 per month. We built some inflation into this plan that he's going to want or need about $6,700 a month at 67. You'll see why we're talking the inflation on this one. But income sources, he's pretty adamant that he wanted to get Social Security out to full retirement age. Again, he did his own planning at the beginning here. And part of his plan was that he really wanted to see Social Security grow as much as possible and not collect it until age 67. So no income source now. Social Security at age 67, his full retirement age is $3,700 a month. So we have a withdrawal need of $6,200 a month for the next 5 years.
We also know that at 67, if he sticks with that plan, that withdrawal need goes down pretty dramatically.
Yeah,
because of Social Security coming in.
Yeah, it's going to go to $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
At that point, $3,000 plus the $3,700, that's the $6,700. But the real risk lies in the next 5 years. You're spending at an 8.7% clip. That you all watch our show, not sustainable at the end of the day. So let's talk through some additional planning challenges, Jet, and where Michael's at here.
All right, Taco. First one I have is delaying Social Security. I know he's hell bent on I'm gonna delay until 67. I want to get to my full retirement age. I think it's a challenge.
Yeah.
Because one or two little things that go wrong during that 5 year, and the thing that pops in my head right away is just bad sequence of return. He loses a bunch of money in the market. That distribution rate skyrockets from 8.7 to whatever it might be, 11%, 12%, 15% really quickly in a bad market sequence. So what's he going to do? Is he going to tap Social Security early because he needs that income? How else am I going to? It's either that or he's going back to work, or he's going to go find part-time income, or he's going to be forced to cut his expenses. He probably doesn't like any of those options. Yeah. So I think that's a challenge.
Yeah. I mean, we'll talk, Social Security timing. I mean, that's a big thing to look at. And he didn't look at it closely enough.
Agree.
We're not talking what the right or wrong answer is yet, but he's got that overspending gap. And quite frankly, Jet, we've seen this before, is he had it in his head that $4,000 covered just the basic expenses that he was thinking of. He was not thinking about all the costs that now come into play now that he's retired, or he's not, the employer's not covering these expenses, things like that, taxes, because the bulk of the money, $780,000 of his portfolio is pre-tax money, meaning distributions he has to take to get a net number that he's looking for. He's got to pay taxes on. So, $4,000 to $6,200, that's a big difference. Big gap.
Another challenge is withdrawal rate pressure. We mentioned it before, 8.7 is unsustainable. Yeah. And even with Social Security coming in later, he still has a little bit of a withdrawal rate risk there.
Well, it becomes what does the portfolio look like 5 years from now? You're 810 spending 8.7%. How much of that 810 is going to be left over to now kick out the remaining shortfall, even though Social Security has kicked in? That's the key.
I wonder if Michael looked at, even after he realized, oh crap, it's not 4,000, it's 6,200 a month.
Yeah.
What's that as a withdrawal rate? Wow, that's almost 9%. Well, the S&P 500 average rate of return every year since, the dawn of time has been X, and I should be able to make that. I call it the hang on and hope plan.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, there isn't very rarely is there ever a year where the S&P 500 returns 7% or 8% or 9%.
Yep.
It's up 15%, 20%, 25%. It's down 15%.
Yeah.
The average works out to that math. Right. And so I think he might have had a little hang on and hope going on in here, thinking I'll probably be okay.
Yep. Last one is he's got an asset allocation risk because of the pressure from the withdrawal rate. He's kind of in this spot where liquidity, what's the perfect, mix of liquidity and growth, or safety and growth, I'm even going to say. Because in my opinion, and we'll talk through some strategies here, but he's going to need some money safe and protected for these next 5 years to get rid of that sequence of return risk. But he also needs his money to grow, because he's got a high withdrawal rate. So there's this really
find a balance to that.
Fine line to try to balance this. So a misstep in either direction can really compound his problem even worse.
Yeah, and you just mentioned the last challenge. It's sequence of return risk, which we talked about, and then inflation. We try to factor inflation in. He's spending $6,200 a month now. Maybe it looks like $6,700 a month 5 years from now. Maybe it's more.
Yeah,
I know it's a big worry that people have right now based on economic scenario. So. Before we get to possible strategies for Michael, if your withdrawals are running too high, if you're looking at your own math, so look at your scenario, take your portfolio value, take your monthly distribution, multiply it by 12, do that simple math. Where's your withdrawal rate at? And if you're worried that your withdrawal rate's in a yellow light zone or a red light zone, I want you to go to riseandretirement.com, do it after this video, click on the button to request a 30-minute phone call with a member of our advisory team. It's complimentary, it's no cost, no obligation. We want to walk you through some possible strategies that could help you get from yellow to green or from red to yellow. Because there are usually some things that maybe you're not thinking about that you could do.
Yeah.
But you got to go to Rise and Retirement and give us a chance to help you through it.
Yeah. Get a Social Security analysis. When's the best timing to take it? If you got a pension, what's the best way to take your pension?
Yep.
These are all items that tie into a income plan at the end of the day.
I want to tee you up we're going to get into possible strategies now. So this is what we think Michael could do. And this isn't going to thrust him from red light to green light necessarily, but I think it helps him get closer.
Yeah.
And so we talk about bucket plans, or, you might have heard it as laddering your investments or bucketing them. This is a bridge strategy. And you explain this really, really well. I've seen you do it with clients. I've seen you do it with people that call in from YouTube.
Yeah.
What I think Michael needs to do, and you mentioned this, how does he balance between growth, investing some of that portfolio for growth and having risk associated with it, versus having some of it protected so he can spend it? And it's kind of just what you call phases of income plan. So walk through, we created a phases of income for Michael as a general example.
Yeah, little bucket approach here for Michael. And it ties to purpose. We talk about this all the time with individuals who come in, is you have to have purpose to every single dollar that you have. And so in Michael's case, with how tight things are, it's even that more important to have some purpose. So what we did is we kind of worked the math backwards here, and said, okay, we have a 5-year window from 62 to 67 that I need $6,200 a month. We can't take a whole lot of risk on this money because, now you're that hope and wish. If the market goes down, there's no recovery. There's not enough runway, not enough time for that money to recover. So we do something low risk, conservative. I think in this example, we built in roughly a 4%.
Yeah, an assumed rate of return annually of 4%.
Yep. The goal is that at the end of that 5 years, that future value of that bucket is zero. We've spent down every single dollar in this bucket. And so if we're able to get roughly a 4% withdrawal, or a 4% return, it will take $377,000 approximately right now today invested in bucket one, pulling out $6,200 a month. It'll be depleted at age 67.
Okay.
Now, simultaneously, we also fund bucket two, phase two here. Now, phase two doesn't begin until his age 67, but we would need to put aside about $379,000 to cover the now $3,000 per month shortfall, right? So income went up to $6,700, got $3,700 coming from Social Security, so we have a shortfall of $3,000. That $379, there's a lot of different vehicles that can be used. We've even done a couple shows on annuities. Like, this could be a potential scenario where somebody like Michael puts $379 into an annuity with a game plan that, hey, we're going to let this thing grow for 5 years. And then it turns around and starts kicking out lifetime income of $3,000 per month.
There's a supplemental income to add to Social Security to get him a fixed income lifestyle of $6,700 a month.
Yep. Now, what that leaves, and this is where it gets tight, is we've got $144,000 left over. That's kind of on call it the growth side of the plan, growth phase. And that 144 can now be invested a little more aggressively. It's for inflation. It's for long-term stability, the one-off expenses that are going to come up. But it's tight. That's still not a huge number left over, in my opinion. But by having a bucket plan like this, where there's purpose to the money, and the money producing the income stream is low risk and protected, it gives him his best chance for longevity at that point.
And that's if he makes no other changes. And even at that, I still think it's a little too close for comfort.
Yeah.
I don't know that he's going to love that future retirement.
Well, and it goes back to the asset allocation. I mean, think about this, that total amount, 377 plus 379, we're essentially just strictly earmarking that for income. He really can't care about growth at that point on that money. So you're only seeing growth now on 144,000. So if there's any legacy plans, if there's any other big inflationary type of items, it still got some red flags there.
Another strategy, and again, this is not one that people want to consider.
This is the one. I know where you're going here. This is what all the the comments are going to say.
Oh, the
here.
keyboard warriors?
Yeah, for sure.
Leave your comments because we want to hear from all of you.
Yeah.
What you're probably thinking is, well, he just needs to spend less.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're right. He does. Easier said than done.
Yeah.
And maybe he doesn't want to spend less.
Right.
He's 62 years old. You don't know how long his career was, how hard he worked, what he wanted to do to get to where he was now so that he could enjoy life the way he hoped for.
Yeah.
But yeah, if he locks in a true baseline, cuts $1,000 to $2,000 a month in lifestyle costs, resets that withdrawal. He went in thinking he could spend $4,000. How hard did he really try?
Yeah.
There's a euphoria moment that happens here. You retire, you've been working for 20, 30, 40 years on a budget based on what your net take home was from your paycheck.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden every day is Saturday to you. It is euphoria for some people. It is hard to kind of hold that budget down.
Yep.
So maybe there's a chance that he could cut some expenses and do less, but is that going to be the same enjoyable vision of his retirement years that he had going into this?
Yeah. And one to add to that kind of goes on along with those lines is if he's not willing to take the cut, then maybe you do some part-time work or, more of that, call it phase combination, where it's go find a job that gets you $1,000 a month that you can use for healthcare costs or whatever it may be.
I'll add one more strategy that you have to consider, and this goes along with the bridge strategy because the bucket plan we showed you is very basic. It shows you here's the time frame, here's the amount of money we have to put in, here's an assumed rate of return, how much you can get out of that bucket, how long it'll last. To take it a step further, if we were doing this for real, we have to talk about account sequencing, meaning we told you before he's got 403B money, which is pre-tax. He's got IRA money, pre-tax. He's got cash.
Yeah.
So what are we using in those buckets is another
do we use any of the cash early on and all that good stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, that's all coming into play with that bucket plan. You got to identify the location of those assets. Yeah.
I'll jump to red, yellow, green. I think he's a red light. And if he builds a bridge strategy in some similar capacity to the example that we showed, he could be yellow. But I truly think he's very far away, in my opinion, from a green light.
Yeah.
We can take him from red to yellow, but he's got to be really disciplined at that point. And he's got to realize that and understand that because there's only about $144,000 left over for all those unpredictable emergency expenses, inflation adjustments beyond the age 67 adjustment that we made, it's going to be tight. It's going to be tight for the rest of his retirement years. Unless he enjoys an extremely favorable sequence of returns and he takes the appropriate risk on that, it's going to be tough for him.
Yeah, that's the predicament at the end of the day that he's in. Is it's either get a plan that it works, but it's just so tight, or you take the risk of what the market's going to do for you, and that's not what I would want to go into retirement. Having a plan based on what the economy's doing and what who the president is and all these different things. You don't want to fall victim to that.
Our guy behind the camera, Leighton, I'll give him a shout out here. He wrote this in here as the close, and it says, Michael's retirement isn't sunk, but it's fragile. And I think that's perfect explanation of it because ultimately, as we said, he can get into a little bit better of his own.
Yeah.
But he's got to be really careful and he's got to have some structure and he's got to rethink this a little bit.
One other thing that he needs to do, and I'm not saying, again, that he's doing it wrong, but again, when to take Social Security. He didn't run a stress test. He didn't run any sort of planning of, does 67 make sense? Does maybe 65? Or does it just make sense to kick it on right away? So if you find yourself in a situation where you're unsure of what your income stream is going to look like, your cash flow, how it's going to operate, take advantage of a 30-minute free consultation.